Welcome to Rogers TV's special presentation of the Jake Allen Celebrity Golf Classic here at Kingswood. Throughout the day, I caught up with some of the A-list celebrities at the event. Jake Allen Celebrity Classic. Just maybe discuss what this means personally to you and the success that it's had thus far.
Yeah, you know, it's something I've always wanted to do, to give back, and for us to be able to have this event for a second consecutive year and hopefully many more years to come. We just want to build off the first event. You know, we had a very successful first year, and so far going into this, it looks like we're going to have a great second year, and you know, I think the rain's going to hold off and it's going to be a good day, and we're raising a lot of money for great causes, and that's really what it's all about. Maybe just discuss those causes, and they're dear to your heart as well here, coming from the Pitcher province. Yeah, you know, through our committee we had narrowed it down to eight organizations our first year, and we split them up 4 and 4. This year we have a Special Olympics New Brunswick, Greener Village Community Food Center here in Fredericton, Turnaround Achievement Awards, and the Miramichi Salmon Association. So they all have great meanings. You know, the 4 recipients last year as well did too, and you know, I think the checks that we gave them made a huge difference, and that's what we're all about, trying to make a difference. You mentioned that you always wanted to give back. How important is that to your family and you personally, to have that support here in your hometown? Yeah, you know, it's great. You know, when tough times are accounted for, you know people here are going to reach out first, and that means a lot to me, and I want to find any way I can to give back. And to be honest, hopefully we have a few more hockey players coming up soon that, or athletes, or whatever the case may be, can, you know, follow my footsteps and give back as well when I'm done. You know, I think this is a trend that, you know, it comes with the life that I live, but you have to have a passion of giving back, and you know, I love where I come from, and try to make the best place we can. Program 34. Maybe just take us through its inception and what that means to, you know, young goaltenders in this province. Yeah, it's our not-for-profit. I just thought it was a fitting title. You know, it's not a direct hockey title, it's a broad title, so we can reach out to all different organizations. You know, we really want to hit the hockey aspect, obviously, but we want to reach outside of that as well. You know, there's a lot more to this province than producing hockey players or athletes, and so for us, last year we gave a lot of kids opportunities to play. We've gave over 65 sets of hockey equipment, player and goaltenders. You know, we've given free camps to kids. You know, we're just finding ways, some shape or form, to give back, give them an opportunity, give them hope. You know, I think a lot of kids are sometimes shying away. You know, I'm not from Toronto, I'm not going to get the opportunities that, you know, those kids get, but you know, you're from New Brunswick with 700,000 people. It's just about a chance, and you want to give them the opportunity that they can make it, and hopefully follow my footsteps. Well, you mentioned those footsteps, and you know, your Lennon's going to be walking soon. Just discuss the impact that has had on you being a new father. Yeah, I think it just makes you open your eyes every day. You know, they're so bright and they're so excited. I love waking up with her and seeing how happy she is. It just gives you a whole new outlook on life. You know, I had a great life before, don't get me wrong, but since she's came into the picture, it's been awesome. We're so fortunate, and you know, it's fun to get her back, and you know, she just got her Canadian citizenship, so she's a legal Canadian now, so it'll be fun to get back to the States with her. You had some struggles early on last season, and then you rebounded. Discuss that, you know, how challenging that was on and off the ice for you, and then finishing the season, you know, going into the playoffs on a high. Yeah, I thought if you minus 3 weeks out of my year, I had a really great year. But those 3 weeks were really tough for me, on and off the ice. You know, emotionally, physically, it was just, I've been a very consistent hockey player throughout my career, but that was probably the worst slump of my life, and I couldn't stop a beach ball, but you know, it worked out for the best. I found my way out of it. I really leaned on myself hard. I'm not a guy that goes out and, you know, reaches for wisdom or words. I sort of lean on myself a lot for a lot of things I do on and off the ice, and you know, it worked out. It was tough. You know, had a lot of doubters in there, but I think I proved a lot of people wrong with the rest of the season, and you know, I thought I had a good playoff. A-list celebrities in the second annual Celebrity Classic. Discuss
you know, Special Olympics and having Jamie Salé and Craig Simpson here, and of course Mike Babcock.
Yeah, you know, when we partner with Special Olympics, we talked about it probably almost 2 years ago now. And when we did this event this year, you know, we had an idea in mind, and we said, look, let's try to reach out to people that have been involved in Special Olympics, and you know, give them a reason to come. You know, we basically broadcasted what we're about, what we're giving back to, and Craig and Jamie jumped on it right away and said, for sure, we're there. We got them here, we got their tickets going, and you know, next thing you know, they're here. So we're very fortunate to have them. We're very big supporters of Special Olympics Canada, and we're giving back specifically to Special Olympics New Brunswick, which they're very happy to help out with. And you know, to have Mike Babcock here, it's you know, I'm going to go with 98% of the hockey fans in Fredericton are Leafs fans. So it was a big draw for us. You know, he's been great. He's been awesome. You know, he really enjoys the Maritimes. I know he comes out on almost every year for a yearly trip, probably a hidden trip. But at the same time, we're very fortunate to have him here, and you know, trying to make the most of it.
Discuss the impact financially from last year one event, and the funds that raised last year.
Yeah, you know, we had a little bit of expectation. We sort of went in with an open mind, and you know, whatever we raised was great. And at the end of the day, you know, we donated almost $70,000 in cash to the recipients and $45,000 in hockey equipment. So it was a pretty we set the bar pretty high, to be honest. And this year, I think we're gonna top that, because you know, our support has grown. It really has, from a corporate standpoint. You know, a lot of people want to get involved, and I think they're very supportive of what we stand for and what I stand for here at Program 34, and it's great to see. So I think we're going to break those barriers this year.
The uniqueness of the Q&A at the gala last night, just sitting down and discussing hockey and talking hockey, but the MC, Darren Pang, good relationship with you. Maybe just discuss your friendship with Darren. Yeah,
you know, ever since I came in the Blues organization, he's been there. He's been awesome, especially for goaltenders. He loves goalies. He was an old goalie. He gives me a lot of love, and I really appreciate it. I know my parents, my grandfather included, love him to death, because you know, he's always got my back on the air. And anyway, he's just one of the nicest human beings you'll ever meet in your life, on and off the ice. He'll do anything for anybody. And you know, he sits 2 seats in front of me on the airplane when we travel all year, and we golf together. And you know, he lives like 2 minutes away from me in St. Louis, so it's all connected. And you know, yeah, he's working for Fox Sports, but at the same time, he's a really good friend with all of us on the team. And when I asked him to come up, he jumped on it right away. And you know, he's going to make a little trip out of it, but he's awesome, and he's very good at what he does. And you know, I'm very thankful he's here.
How important is it to you to have these celebrities come in, Jake, and be so giving of their time, especially some current players? This is the off season for you guys.
Yeah, you know, there's a lot of golf tournaments out there. There's a lot of people that want their attention, and I understand completely, because I'm in their shoes as well. You know, for them to come to my event, to take 2 or 3 days, whether you're traveling from Alberta or you're driving in from Halifax or PEI, you know, it still it means a lot to me, and it means a lot to our whole committee and the sponsors here. So it's great, and without them, you know, there would be no event, to be honest. You know, the sponsors put all the money together and donate, but you know, we try to bring in the celebrities so the sponsors come, and you know, it's been awesome.
Well, continued success here with the Celebrity Classic, Jake. Yeah. You do amazing things for our province and the Fredericton community. Thanks so much for taking the time.
Appreciate it.
It was quite an experience, and you know, I feel very fortunate to have played with 2 incredibly gifted, talented, not just players, but people.
Joined by Craig Simpson, longtime NHLer, but we'll start right there, Craig. Unfortunately, career-ending injury at 28. How was that transition for you? Was it a difficult transition out of the game?
Yeah, I'd say anytime you have to be forced to stop a game that you love, and in the prime of your career, it's very disheartening, disappointing. But on the flip side, I think you always try to find the positives in it. And I was very fortunate to get an opportunity to play in Edmonton at a pretty, amazing time with some wonderful players, and to have the experience at 21 and 23 to win Stanley Cups there made it a little bit easier to swallow. I think every player hopes to reach that level of success from a team perspective, and at least I went out. My last 3 years, I had incredible back pain and troubles. My last 2 years in Buffalo, I only played 20 games a year, so I knew that I couldn't play anymore. It wasn't a question of somebody telling me I wasn't good enough anymore, and that's usually the biggest struggle, whether you're 28 or 38, is walking away from the game. And I was forced to, so it made it a little bit easier to handle going forward.
The transition then, of course, out of the game and into broadcasting, which it's just an amazing experience, and you've got to cover some Stanley Cup games like that. For a broadcaster, that's the pinnacle.
Yeah, I feel very fortunate that at that critical time in your life at 28 with a young family, what are you going to do? What's next? There's a lot of life to live when you're only 28 years old. So it seemed to be a fairly natural transition. I've always felt pretty comfortable in front of the camera, answering any kind of question, and the analysis part seemed like a really good fit. So that first year, I sort of took some time to try to get a little healthier and feel a little bit better and sort of assess where I'm at. But since then, it's been a great run, and it allows me to stay involved in a game I love and be around the NHL in just a different capacity this time around.
You have the unique position of playing with, some of the best, two of the best hockey players really ever in Wayne Gretzky and of course Mario Lemieux.
Yeah, it's been a question I've been asked an awful lot, especially earlier in my career, going from playing with Mario in his second, third, and fourth years in the NHL, and seeing, what a star he was then, but how much he grew in that amount of time as well. I really felt the 1987 Canada Cup, when Mario finally got a chance to play with the game's greatest players in that Canada Cup. He came back to training camp that year just a different person. He and Wayne had created so much magic during that run, and I think it really taught him just how winning teams operate. And for him, it was his first NHL opportunity to win something big. Pittsburgh, we weren't a great team then. He was our leader and our best player, but there's something to be said of learning how to be a winner and a leader. And to go from that and see how well he played coming out of that, and then to get traded that year. I got traded 21 games in, and get an opportunity to play with a guy who I idolized in Wayne. And my centerman was Marc Messier for 4.5 years. So those are pretty good 3 players on that top 4 list of players. So, Wayne just had such an amazing capacity to play at a level that was almost unheard of, and he read the game so well. He had such great passion and drive, and the one thing I really love about Wayne's presence is just how much he brought everybody into his celebrity. Like, he really relished the fact that he could allow guys to share in some of the experiences he got because of his greatness.
Right.
But he made sure that everybody on the team had a chance to share in it. So it was quite an experience, and I feel very fortunate to have played with 2 incredibly gifted, talented, not just players, but people.
You talk about sharing the experience. You have a unique experience with winning the Cup, of course, in Boston Gardens, and sharing that experience with Gordie Howe, of all people.
I think it's incredible the power of the Stanley Cup, because unlike other sports where they have one trophy, the Vince Lombardi trophy is given every year, the NBA trophy is given every year. It sits in the team that won it. It sits in their trophy case all year. The greatest thing about the Stanley Cup is that you don't win the trophy to keep. You earn the right to be a part of history, and your name gets etched on it. And I was fortunate enough twice to lift the same Stanley Cup that Gordie Howe lifted when he was a player. And in that 1990 year in the Boston Garden, Mr. Howe was at the game, and he had come to my charity event 2 straight years prior, so I had a chance to get to know him a little bit and share some time with him. So I just sensed it as an opportunity. I grabbed the cup from my teammates in the room and took it out with him, sat on the bench in an empty Boston Garden, and just looked back to his last year at 54-55 when they beat the Montreal Canadiens. And that's what's special, the fact that he could be sitting there looking at the names and pointing to the guys who scored big goals, overtime goals. He gave me the score of all the games. And, you know, those kind of moments you remember like they're etched, like your name on the cup, they're etched in your mind. And I think that's what makes the, you know, the journey to win the Stanley Cup so special for every player.
Special, how special is your involvement with the Special Olympics, Craig, and the impact that that has had on you personally?
Yeah.
And what that means across Canada, and especially here giving back at the Jake Allen Celebrity Classic,
yeah,
Special Olympics New Brunswick.
I think it's really an important cause. I've always felt, you know, from my days in Edmonton with Joey Moss, who had Down syndrome and became such a big part. I mean, Wayne basically made him a part of the family and a part of the Oilers family and team, and saw the power and the impact of what sport did. For many years we had floor hockey games with the Special Olympians in Edmonton, and so I do have a history in that. And my wife Jamie has been on the Alberta board for 3 years and now in her 3rd year of the national board for Special Olympics, so it's very much near and dear to her heart. Her dad in Red Deer coaches baseball and coaches curling in the winter, so there's a huge connection for her. So for us as a couple to be able to share, we were at the Alberta Games in Medicine Hat this past weekend, and then to have Jake choose Special Olympics as one of the recipients, I think just shows the kind of power that that has in the community. And I think the one thing you find with the athletes is they're so endearing, they're so energetic, and they give you equally as much. You know, you get so much from them sharing the moments. It's been very, very rewarding, and I thank Jake for you know, donating this year some of the proceeds from this great event.
Well, it's been great catching up with you, Craig, and continued success at Hockey Night in Canada, and really everything that you embody. Thanks so much.
Thanks very much. Nice meeting you.
He kneeled down and I put my hand on his shoulder and he said, "Just like home." I took one big breath and I looked up at the audience, and I think I just went into autopilot.
Joined by Olympic champion Jamie Salé. Does that still give you goosebumps, Jamie?
Oh, it's a really neat title for sure. I get asked a lot. These young kids here are coming up to me and they're like, "So I hear you won a gold medal at the Olympics," and I always go, "How old were you? How old are you now? And how old were you in 2002?" But it's nice that people still reference that, and you know, it's a title that I guess nobody can ever take away. So yeah, it's pretty special.
What was the pressure like in that moment of competition? And you know, that's the pinnacle of being an Olympic athlete. Just the feeling and the stress behind that.
Yeah, I remember going out for our warm-up, and the warm-ups are always okay. It was when we were about to take the ice to go out and compete. And as much as you've worked your whole life for that 4.5 minutes, I remember wondering why I do this to myself, because it's so uncomfortable. You kind of want to hide because you know the world is watching, and really now they're going, "Okay, it's your turn to deliver," and you're hoping it's perfect. You've got millions and millions of people watching. You've got 9 judges that are judging you, and your competitors are standing back waiting for you to make a mistake. So yeah, the pressure is immense. And but once David every time got into our position, he used to say to me, just like home. And that was because we were so well trained from home that we would get to a competition and he would just say that to me, and it meant don't change anything.
Right.
Do exactly what we've been doing at home and we're good. So when he said that to me at the Olympics, I remember putting my hand on his shoulder, because it was Love Story, and he went down and on his, he kneeled down and I put my hand on his shoulder and he said, just like home. I took one big breath and I looked up at the audience, and I think I just went into autopilot, because that's all I had trained for, and I'd visualized that whole thing. And next thing I knew, I was saying to him towards the end of the program, we did it. And he goes, we're not done yet. We still had a lift and a death spiral and a spin left, but I figured, well, all the hard stuff's done and we nailed it, so it was great.
In that moment, are you in the zone, or do you feel,
well,
it has to be incredible.
Well, you're in the zone, like I said, autopilot
Right.
zone. I think that is where most psychologists would say to the athletes, that's really where you want to get to. That would be the ultimate goal, is to get to a place where you feel like you're not even really thinking. Your body's just doing it.
Right.
Muscle memory, as athletes talk about a lot. And that is exactly where I got to. I really believe that. After we skate around and we do our first side-by-side jump, which was the big one, and everybody was waiting for me again to mess that one up, because out of the two of us, it was always me that missed. So once we did that, I literally sat more into my skates, and I just went, okay, we're good. And we just took off, because the program that we were doing, Love Story, was like an old slipper. It just felt so comfortable and so familiar, and yeah, so the autopilot didn't really feel like much to me. Like I said to you, I got to the very end, there's probably about 45 seconds left, and after he comes into me into a spiral position, and he hugs me, and that's where I said to him, we did it. But we had fallen on our ending position in the short program. We'd skated a great shores, but we fell in the position, our ending pose. And so for him, he's going, we can't mess anything up tonight. We have to be absolutely perfect. So we held it together till the end. But yeah, it's pretty crazy. And now when I watch, I actually think back to how did I feel. And I think the worst thing is the lead up, the anxiousness and the unknown. That's what we always talk about in skating, and even in hockey. You know, you talk about the unknown of anything can happen in the playoffs, right?
Right.
You've got one team could win 6-0 one game, and then it's completely opposite the next game, and it's the same for us. I mean, it could have been a different story the next day, or even a couple hours later. So they call it the hockey gods. We could call it the skating gods for us. You know, if they were looking down on us. And I used my grandpa. My grandpa passed away when I was 10, and he was my biggest supporter. He used to watch me all the time in video, and I used to go into a locker room, in a stall actually in my dressing room, and I would pray, if you will, to my grandpa. I would just say to him, you know, Grandpa, you watched me growing up as a little girl, and I really need your strength tonight. I want you to be proud of me. And I used to talk to him, and that was kind of my way of talking myself into the positive affirmations and asking for strength. As if I wasn't strong enough, but you know, everybody's got their thing, right?
Right. The transition out of skating,
Mm-hmm.
it has to be difficult being at that pinnacle, and then
Yeah.
it's the same for hockey players, and but how was that for you?
Well, I think the difference for us is that hockey players are pros for most of their careers, and whereas we took our title and went on tour for 10 years
Right.
and made a living. So we were amateurs for most of our career, right, and we only spent 10 years as pros. I only wish that we had their paycheck, though. We made a great living being professionals, and obviously having an Olympic title behind us really helped in the story, even as hard as that was to go through. And I really wish that I had the gold medal the first night, just because that was what I had visualized and dreamt of, singing "O Canada" with
Right.
our country back home watching. But that's, you know, in hindsight, that story, the controversy actually made us bigger names. So we had a really great career as pros, and it was more after I remember Skyping back then, because we didn't have FaceTime. I Skyping with Craig, my husband. I was in Korea, and we were doing one of our last shows, and I just said, you know, I'm done. Whereas I wasn't forced out of it like a lot of the hockey players are,
Right.
with injury and or they're just getting a little older and they're getting, you know, bought out or whatever.
Right.
I just remember saying to him, I'm just done. Like, I feel ready now. And I never looked back. I felt like I had done everything and more than I ever have dreamt of in my life. I mean, I always talked the talk when I was a kid, saying I'm going to go to the Olympics and I'm going to win this and I'm going to do that. But, you know, there I was with that title going, wow, like I actually did it. So, and I've made a great living as a pro and I want to have a family. And at that point I'd already had I don't remember exactly how old my son was, but I want to say about 3. And, you know, soon he was going to be going into activities. And so I wanted to be home for him. And I just said, I'm really done. I'm tired of the travel. I'm tired of the rehearsals. And you just know, right? So Craig was really proud of that. And I personally didn't find the transition into like real life that hard. I felt like I was always meant to be a mommy. And yeah, so it's one of my proudest things that I've ever done is having children. People often expect me to say my Olympic medal. I'm like, that medal's in the bar, or it's in the safety deposit box, or it's hanging over here, or sometimes I don't even know where it is. It's meaningful, but my children are my greatest gift.
Well, you've been a great gift to Special Olympics here in Canada and Alberta. Maybe just discuss the impact that's had on you personally.
Well, I got involved with Special Olympics about 5-6 years ago now, and I always tell everybody, when you come to one event, you're hooked for life, and that's exactly what happened to me. I went with my dad to watch his ball players practice, and I just said, Dad, like I get it. Like after 20 minutes of hanging out with everybody and the love that they show and the gratitude that they have towards sport and life and each other and sportsmanship that they show. And so I've been to 2 World Games now. Went to LA in the summer and I went to Austria this past winter, and best experience of my life. Like honestly, it is, I feel so honored that I can be a part of such a wonderful organization and movement that, and I can, if I can bring anything to them, like people always say, well, you're amazing to do that. I go, no, they're the amazing ones. They're giving me the gift. So I feel blessed that I'm able to get that from them. And if there's anything on my side that I can do to help them, that's all I can wish for, right? Is just to, you know, and most of them don't know who I am, but someone, their coach or their parent will tell them, well, she's an Olympic gold medalist, and they'll be like, oh, that's so great, and then they get excited, but that's not what matters. What matters is that we both get something really great, and it's like the best hugs in the world. I just love it.
Well, your impact in community and in Special Olympics, and of course the Olympics. Jamie, thank you so much for everything that you've done.
Thank you.
Promoting the sport of skating.
Thank you very much.
Drag it back, drag it back.
I broke my tee! Woo!
You're not just a broadcaster for a team. You're a conduit between the fans and the players and the team. But for me personally, the goalies are, it's a more special breed.
Joined by Darren Pang, Panger. Did that ever bother you? People, complete strangers, Darren coming up and nicknames. It's all about nicknames.
No, I think that's I think it's great. I think it's an easy one because, you know, Pang, and you just add ER to many athletes and it's a Panger. But I've noticed that when I go to Fernie, BC, my dad Jerry is 80 years old. He's a goalie coach for the Fernie Ghost Riders still, and I go there, they call him Panger. In Ottawa, my sister gets called Panger, my brother gets called Panger, and so I think that's great, and I love it.
Well, just maybe discuss your friendship with Jake Allen and what it means to you personally to be invited to the Celebrity Classic.
Well, it's an incredible honor. You know, I'm with the team all year long, and you get to know personalities, and you get to know what guys are like. For Jake to reach out, last year he reached out, and Chris Kerber, that does the radio for KMOX for the Blues, he came here and just had a blast. And I said to him that if there's a chance that you need somebody, I'll step in there for you, no problem whatsoever. I think the important thing for people to know is that you're not just a broadcaster for a team. You're a conduit between the fans and the players and the team. But for me personally, the goalies are, it's a more special breed. And I love it when Jake and I can sit down during the year and just talk about different movements or a different goal against. He will always come up and say, what did you see here? You're watching practice, what do you see there? Another set of eyes. I'm so impressed by Jake personally. It's the way he sees things and the way he handles things and doesn't let things get away from him too often. So it's an honor to be here and to meet actually his real friends and family and to see the community. I think for me now, it's going to be a real, I used conduit before, but I think it's going to be real for me to talk about Fredericton, New Brunswick. It's going to be real for me to talk about his friends here and the community instead of him just telling me, I've been here now. Right. So it's just going to make the broadcast better, and I think I'll make the people of Fredericton proud.
You mentioned the impact of the fans. Discuss what the fans mean to you, and especially with the new contract and what that means to you personally, Darren.
Oh, well, I think as a broadcaster, you're seen and heard as much as anybody. Doug Armstrong and I are good friends, and I'm like, that's sometimes you're put out there more than a manager is going to be or a coach is going to be. They're not available all the time. Right. And for the fans of St. Louis and the fans of Fox Sports Midwest, while I was going through a contract negotiation, I was getting a little concerned that I might not return there, and there were other openings, but they stepped up, and the Blues did, and the fans did. And I think that, to me, that says a lot, because social media can be very critical. People can be very critical with everything you say and how you say it, but it has been absolutely overwhelming from a guy that, played for the Chicago Blackhawks, has joined the St. Louis Blues, and I feel like I'm part of the Blues community and family, and now obviously they let me know that they feel the same way.
Well, you mentioned family and community. Just talk about what Jake Allen's Celebrity Classic means to you and the impact that it's having on these charities, and of course you did a great job emceeing the gala last night as well.
Well, the gala was fun. It's a perfect crowd for me. I gotta tell you. I know that a lot of us will reach out and we'll show up at golf tournaments. We all do our thing. We'll sign things, or I give out some packages for winners for auctions to come to Fox Sports Midwest, and I'll meet them before the game. We'll take a picture. We'll do that, and that's okay. I'm just trying to help. But when someone actually puts their name on it, when they, like, this is his, and he's doing it, and the work that goes into it should not go unnoticed. I know he's got a load of people here that help him out. I mean, it's been incredible how great, from the drivers, from the picking up at the airports to going to the hotel to coming here to the outing. But he has got it all together, and that's what's impressive to me, and he's doing it for the right reasons. For obviously Special Olympics this year is important to a lot of people, including Craig Simpson and his wife Jamie Salé. So it's just been really humbling to be here, and I've been really proud.
Well, everyone should be very proud, and you should be proud of the impact that you've had here at the event, Darren, and the impact that you've had in broadcasting. Thanks. And we wish you all the best. Thank you so much, and continued success.
My pleasure. And people out there do know that I'm taller than you, right? It's close.
It's close.
Thanks, pal. Appreciate it.
Over the last 24 years, we've had recognized over 930 students, and we've given out over $400,000 in scholarship money.
Wow. Here with Brian Johnson. Brian, the owner of Kingswood. Kingswood is expanded, but let's just focus in on giving back to the community and the turnaround awards that are really featured here as one of the charities here as part of the Jake Allen Celebrity Classic.
Right. Yes, the turnaround awards is something that we found in Florida many years ago. 24 years ago we set it up. And over the last 24 years, we've had recognized over 930 students, and we've given out over $400,000 in scholarship money.
Wow.
So the program is about students that have had difficulties, you know, from mental health to just behavioral problems to there's just so many situations. Oh, I've heard over 900 stories of these kids over the years, and so what we do is the school selects the students for us.
Right.
And so it's a recognition program. So basically we have a beautiful ceremony every year in the city, and we always have like the lieutenant governor and politicians and anyone that business leaders and leaders in the community. And what we're trying to tell these students is that they're heading in the right direction, and we're giving them a pat in the back saying, yes, you're heading in the right direction, keep it up. The schools select them, we don't. And then what we provide is a scholarship. So last year, for instance, we gave out $36,000 in scholarship.
That's incredible.
So these are students that aren't normally in the scholarship lineup, and they aren't aware that they're going to get a scholarship. We don't tell who's going to get it. So they're extremely excited when they receive it, and we've got many institutions now, from UMB to NBCCs, all their colleges giving donations to us. There's some corporations in town that are helping us. So, and Kingswood gives, for every student that is graduating grade 12, we give $1,000 to each student as a scholarship to no matter where they go. Any sort of a post-secondary education or any sort of a program that they want to go to, no matter where it is, we provide it. So between our scholarship and some of the other scholarships, a student may walk out, like if they get a Kingswood scholarship and a UMB scholarship, they'll have $6,000 in there to help them out with their education.
That's incredible.
So Jake has, I've talked to Jake. He wanted to give back. I've known Jake since he's been this high, and through his hockey programs and being a part of the UMB program, the V-Red Prospects. And so when he came to me to have this event, I asked him about making the Turnaround Achievement Awards a major part of his fundraising efforts, because it's totally unique, and it has grown. Our program has grown to a few other locations in New Brunswick and Nova Scotia, but we're very proud of it. You know, 24 years of it. You know, it's one of my most precious things for myself. I'm doing a lot at Kingswood. There's a lot of development, right, whatever. But for me, giving back is the most important thing that I think you can do, and you're going to be remembered more for goodwill, as far as I'm concerned, than something you did in business.
Right. You're carrying a very precious commodity here, Brian. Maybe
Yep.
just discuss what this means to you personally. Of course, Jake had this personally designed here
Yes.
to stay here at Kingswood.
Yeah, he surprised me with it last night at the end of our event with all the celebrities and Babcock and so many of the players, and it's just he just blew me away. It's just beautiful. I'm so proud to have it, and my wife and Denise and we watch all his games, and I know that one of the masks that he uses in his games has the New Brunswick flag in the back.
Right.
And he's so proud of New Brunswick, and this has the New Brunswick flag on the side, and the city of Fredericton, and the waterfalls at Kingswood, and everything Jake has done has been to, when he's interviewed, he's always talking about Fredericton and his community and giving back, and you know, for a young fella starting off, it's pretty amazing that he's way ahead of his years as far as giving back goes. A lot of people, it takes them a long time to realize how important it is, but this to me means a great, you know, I was very emotional when I received it, and I really appreciate it. I've known Jake through his whole hockey career. As a young boy, he played with my son and with the V-Red Prospects
that we developed, Gardner and Roger Shannon and I developed at UNB. And I've known him for a long time, and for him to, I'm just so impressed with him and what he's done for Fredericton and for himself going forward. I think he's heading down the right path.
Well, there's a common thread here in Kingswood and the Jake Allen Celebrity Golf Classic, and that's giving back. Thank you so much for being a part of the event and having Rogers TV cover it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks.
You know, in the end, the measure to me isn't about winning and losing. It's going to be about the family I raise and the impact they have on society. So that's what matters.
Joined by Toronto Maple Leaf head coach Mike Babcock. Does that still give you goosebumps to have that? Does it register?
Yeah, I don't think about that very often, to tell you the truth. It's, you know, this is my job, this is what I do. I've coached lots of good teams for a long period of time, and I enjoy our group in Toronto. Our fan base is fired up, and they should be, because our team's young and good and going in the right direction. And you know, it's an exciting job when you're around the best people in the world doing what they love to do and working hard at it. It's infectious, it's contagious, it's lots of fun.
Who was your coaching mentor? Who was the person that kind of inspired you to get into the coaching realm?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, obviously, I learned how to work hard from my dad, I learned how to talk to people from my mom. I had a lot of guys through the years. I've said this many times. I know every minor hockey league coach's name that ever coached me. So, which helped along the way, you know, they all helped. And so, which made the biggest difference, I can't tell you that. But everywhere I've gone is, you know, we've tried to learn from everybody around you that's really good at their job. And there's lots of good ones in the National Hockey League. There was lots when I started at Red Deer College in the ACAC. There was a guy named Perry Pern and Coach Nate. He was really good. Don Hay coached Kamloops when I was in Spokane. He was really good. Billy Moores was at the U of A when I was at the University of Lethbridge. He was outstanding. So you can get a lot from the guys you're coaching against, and obviously you learn from great players as well. So it's been fun.
Winning and having success at the junior level, how does that transition into the pro ranks?
Well, if you haven't been a player, unless you win, you're never getting an opportunity. So, you know, and a player, when you're talking about hockey, that means you played in the NHL. And other than that, that's not a player. That's just you played hockey. So we all played, but we didn't play in the National Hockey League. So for me, I spent 14 years. So I spent 3 years at Red Deer College, 2 in Moose Jaw, 1 at the University of Lethbridge, 6 in Spokane, 2 in the American League in Cincinnati for Detroit and Anaheim. So you earn the right to coach and to play in the National Hockey League. No one gives you that opportunity without earning it. And obviously, if you're a serial winner, and what I mean by that, if you win everywhere you go, one day they're going to give you an opportunity.
The biggest difference between coaching at different levels, what are the similarities and what are the differences, Mike?
Well, I don't know if it's, I think it's very similar. And saying all that though is you need confidence, you need a resume, you need to know what you're doing. And so athletes are real simple that way. If you know what you're doing, they're all in. If you can get them better, they're all in. If you're not though, they know that too. The other thing about it is confidence. You got to be able to make the best players believe in what you're doing and do it. Because if the best players aren't in, you're moving as a coach. It's just that simple. So you need enough confidence to be straight up with them.
How important is communicating to players in this day and age, Mike?
Well, I think it's been important forever. I think they talk about it way more now, but the reality is if you can talk to people, it makes you way better. I tell the story all the time. My buddies used to come to my house in Saskatoon. They'd be there for a half hour sitting at the kitchen table talking to my mom. I wouldn't even know they were there. They liked talking to her. She made them feel good. She was a good listener. I think it's important to be able to talk to people in general, and when people talk to you, I don't know what you're like, when you go someplace and no one talks to you, not much fun to be there. But if you get talked to every day, I think you feel better about what you're doing. The other thing about it is no one wants to be a mind reader. I can't read my wife's mind. I can't read my GM's mind. So if Lou and Rini, so that Lou Lamarelle, my general manager, my wife Rini, they tell me what they want, I can please them. And so to me, that's what I try to do. I try to be straightforward.
being straightforward is difficult sometimes with regards to dealing with professional hockey players, especially those that might be not performing at the level they're capable of, though?
Well, I think it's like anything in life. Is the best CEOs in the country is they get together and they have a meeting, and everyone in their business knows what the problems are. If they go to a meeting with their people and they make hard decisions and tell the truth and call people out and get everything straightened out, people might be upset for a second, but they leave and everything's good. If you don't and you don't deal with it, everybody leaves and talks behind each other's back and the problem keeps going. But it takes courage and confidence to tell people things they don't want to hear.
Mike, what's more important to you on a personal level, winning the Stanley Cup or the gold medal?
Well, I mean, they asked me this last night. Obviously, you know, the best thing to do is you win them both. You don't have to decide. They're both very special. I don't care if you're at the University of Lethbridge and you win a national championship. At that point in your career, that's the greatest thing that you've ever accomplished, or at the World Junior Tournament. So at those times, you're not thinking about the Stanley Cup, at least if you're me, you're not, because it's not in the realm of possibility. You're just working away. Every job I had was a dream job, and I loved what I was doing and enjoyed it. But you know, in the end, the measure to me isn't about winning and losing. It's going to be about the family I raise and the impact they have on society. So that's what matters.
Best player you've ever coached?
Well, I mean, there's been lots of good players, and you know, I just coached Sid at the World Cup. He played as good as I've seen, and yet, to me, the most dominant player who played the most minutes that I've coached is Nick Lidstrom.
How good is Austin Matthews?
They're really good. You know, but he's like all young players. Is in the end, how much passion, heart, and soul he has is determine how great he's going to be. And so the great players, whether you're Nick Lidstrom or Pavel Datsyuk or Sidney Crosby or any of those guys, is their passion for their game, their work ethic, their attention to detail is second to none. And that's why they've been able to separate themselves. There's lots of good players that come to the league, but the superstars, they got heart and soul, and they got another level of ability to grind.
Passion. How difficult is losing in Toronto and the attention, the immediate attention? Like?
Yeah, I don't know. You know, like, don't plan on knowing. Actually, to be honest with you, our first year in the or my first year in Toronto, we lost, but it was also part of the structure of what we were doing. We plan on being a really good team, so we don't have to deal with it. What I would say is if you get out of bed every day and you look out, usually the sun's up, and you work as hard as you possibly can, and you go home and you love your family, what's better than that anyway? You're going to come back and do it the next day. So for me, that's what I try to do each and every day. That's what I encourage the players to do. And, you know, we're going in the right direction. It's fun.
Gordie Howe, the impact that Gordie Howe had on you personally with the Detroit Red Wings.
Well, I mean, I was real lucky. I mean, Mr. Lindsay, Gordie Howe, Alex Levesque, year-round. When you're in part of Original Sticks franchise, and anybody would tell you that, there's Johnny Bauer in Toronto. There's great men who have gone before you that have a tattoo on their heart for their franchise, and they have an expectation of success because they had success. And so those people were all great men and are great men and have an impact on you. And you know, obviously it was tough losing Gordie. You know, his son worked with us there as a pro scout, and he was a great man, great to be around your family. I'm a Saskatoon guy from Flora right there, so you've known of him and him for a long period of time. So the impact he had, I mean, he was one of the greatest players of all time, if not the greatest, and so it was fun to be around him.
Fondest memory standing behind the bench in an NHL game?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, I've had lots of great memories. I mean, what I would tell you is, you know, when you win the Stanley Cup, it's as special as it comes. But, you know, I've been real fortunate. The Olympic gold medal in Vancouver and being involved in the process and preparing and executing when it mattered is something I'll always remember. The same with Sochi. I mean, the same with the World Cup, or all the success you've had. But I can tell you right now is our growth period here in Toronto has been fantastic. When I was in Anaheim, we lost in Game 7 of the Stanley Cup final. It was crushing to lose, but it was spectacular to be there. So, you know, I think when you're sitting by the fire one day when you're all done and having a couple of rums, you'll maybe come to the right answer. Right now, it's just living in the moment and enjoying what we do. All that stuff's in the past. We have an opportunity in Toronto I'm excited about.
Did you ever think that you'd be coaching in the NHL and have this much success?
Yeah, I don't go about it that way. You know, maybe I did, or maybe I said that. I just, when I got the job at Red Deer College when I was 25 years old, I was intramural coordinator. I taught first and second year physical education. The kids would transfer to the U of C or U of A, and I ran the hockey team. And I loved it. It was a great job. I thought I could be there forever. It just, after 3 years there and having some success, other opportunities came, and that's kind of how it's been. We've enjoyed it. My wife and I, you know, our kids, we've had a great time and enjoyed the people we've been around, and I had a lot of good breaks along the way. We worked hard too and enjoyed one another, and it's been good.
How important is giving back in Mike Babcock's world?
Well, it's huge, obviously. My wife and I have been involved in two main things. One is cancer. I lost my mom to cancer. Two of my good buddies you know, lost their sons early in life to brain tumors. We've done a lot of work in the cancer area, and then obviously mental health. Mental health is another, I think it's a huge thing. My kids are 24, 22, 20. When they were starting to leave the home, it impacted me more. We lost good friends, close friends to us, and got involved in mental health. And so for me to be here today just helping out with Jake obviously is a big deal. I like the guys that do things in their community. I think part of your notoriety of your job in the National Hockey League is an opportunity to give back and make a difference, and so you do these things. But you know, obviously the cancer thing and the mental health has been huge for my wife and I.
You are truly a pro at everything you do. Mike, thanks so much for taking the time and coming to the Jake Allen Celebrity Classic. We really appreciate everything that you've done.
Thanks. Enjoyed being here.